Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Louise and I talk about how to engage with fashion in more conscious and sustainable ways. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about how to become a more conscious consumer, and I want to disclaim that I am in my 20s. I live in a non-developing country. I have a disposable income that allows me to spend a certain amount on clothes and accessories. I know that I'm definitely a person of privilege. I live in Sweden, which is a country where part of the social norm is to go shopping and wear trendy items. So without further ado, let's dive in. I was born in 1997, and growing up as a kid and a teenager, I remember that I watched a lot of YouTube, especially in the early 2010s, and in particular I was fed with so many shopping hauls and spending sprees, and I feel like these types of videos at the time were really trending, and that was the content that we all wanted to consume. I specifically remember girls my age doing shopping hauls with popular brands at the time, and those often were Abercrombie & Fitch, Forever 21, Aeropostale, Victoria's Secret. I remember everyone wanted to have the full Victoria's Secret body mist collection for some reason, I don't know why. The point is, it didn't really matter what people got or what people bought in this type of video. It was more so about the size of the haul and how much they had spent. I feel like we can blame social media and the rise of influencers all we want for being the culprit for modern overconsumption, but even earlier than that, I had a pretty twisted idea of what a normal consumption pattern looked like, and I feel like some of that had to do with these types of YouTube videos from that era. And I know that these videos were often one-offs, and girls my age wouldn't be able to spend that amount of money on clothes on a regular basis. But even so, it did remove me slightly from reality, and watching people consume was considered a form of entertainment. Even earlier than that, there was the mall rat era of the early 2000s. So I lived with my family in London, UK between 2004 and 2006. And even if I was only 6 years old when we moved there, I have an older sister, and I remember that I used to look up to her and her friends a lot when I was that age, because I watched movies with them whenever I could, and I would be so jealous when they were allowed to go out and go to the mall or go to the shops alone on the weekend. So shopping as a sort of recreational activity was very normal, especially for girls. I feel like there are so many iconic pop culture moments from this era, and movie scenes and music videos, etc., that just emphasize this obsession with going to the shops and going to the mall. So I know that being at the mall for teenagers at the time weren't necessarily focused on consumption. It was much more about hanging out with friends, and it just became this natural place to meet up on your own, but also, as displayed in this article, a place where teenagers could be themselves. So with that said, when I got a little bit older and I got my first monthly allowance, I remember that I spent it all on one top as soon as I got it, and I remember thinking oh my gosh, I only got one item with this money, and now it's gonna be a whole month before I can buy something else. And instead of thinking wow, I just bought something with my own money for the first time that I will use and have and enjoy, I didn't think it was fun. I just wanted more. I've talked a little bit about my relationship to shopping in a previous video, and you can definitely watch that if you haven't already. So I don't really want to dive too much into that here. Instead, I want to present some advice on some steps that I have taken to try and become a more conscious consumer in my adult life. So let's dive in. First, I shop less in general. So this is my main thing that I'm working on, and it's probably also the hardest habit to change because historically the issue with shopping for me has always been the volume. I've rarely found it enjoyable to just buy one thing. It always needs to be 2 items or more, and even worse, when I started shopping it became very hard to stop. So what I've done now is that I have restricted my shopping, and I'm not sure yet whether this will work, but I have definitely noticed a difference already, and I don't really find shopping as fun as I used to think it was. That is a bit of a milestone for me. Basically, I now give myself a quarterly budget, essentially 1 shopping spree per season, so autumn, winter, spring, summer. I have now written myself a list ahead of the season, so not only does that give me some time to reflect and identify my needs, also frankly it does make shopping a little bit more boring because it feels like a chore almost. The way I've done it is that I've created a list where I have written down things that I notice that I need. For example, after this summer I noticed that my flip-flops are wearing down, and so I will probably need to get a new pair for next summer, and so I put that on the list, and it's quite similar to like a grocery list. And because I have a set budget for each shopping time, then I'm very careful about what I spend my money on. I also want to disclaim that restrictive behavior might not always be the best idea. Just as a parallel, I have had a little bit of a struggle with food where I have been very restrictive. And mentally, whenever I restrict myself from food, I find myself wanting to eat much more, and I think about food a lot of the time. So I now focus on intuitive eating and sort of finding that balance. So I feel like this is perhaps where I need to end up with shopping as well. I don't necessarily want to forbid myself from shopping because that may make me crave it more. Instead, I want to find a balance where I just don't think about shopping very much. So like if I want an ice cream, I'll have an ice cream, and that doesn't mean that I'll want to have an ice cream every day. And the same goes for shopping. So if I find something that I want and need, I can buy it, but it doesn't mean that I need to buy more or more often. The next step I have taken towards becoming a more conscious consumer is to shop locally whenever I can. And I know that shopping online these days is so easy, and it's a bit of a struggle for me because a lot of my favorite brands only have stores online, or they don't have a store in the city where I live. Still, I do make much more of an effort these days to actually walk into the town and see things and try things on in real life whenever possible. Whenever I shop online, I feel like I'm very distanced from reality, which is quite obvious. I am, but it's so easy to act on a whim because I literally just need to click to buy. And if I go to a store, I am investing so much more of my time and my energy. A lot of the time, this has also prevented me from buying something unnecessary because it just isn't worth the time. It also has a lot to do with the act of spending money. If I buy in store, I actually need to queue at the till, and I need to swipe my card or tap my phone, and it's a physical action, and the money is drawn instantly from my account. So it sounds so obvious, but in contrast to shopping online, shopping in store requires so much more of you, and it has really made me think twice about whether the item that I'm holding in my hands is worth it. So if I do buy the item in store, I also bring the item home myself in a little carrier bag. That is much better than paying for shipping and being responsible for all of the emissions associated with the shipping, so that also feels a little bit better. Another thing that I have done is I've done a lot more research on what sustainable brands are out there, and what I've discovered is that there are actually a lot more affordable options than I first thought. I do still buy from some of the big brands, but I am much more mindful about the volume and frequency of my purchases. I also don't think that you need to go all in. Like, if you love getting your socks from H&M and you find them comfortable and you find them useful, then you shouldn't like need to stop buying your socks from H&M, but maybe you can find somewhere else to get your underwear or your hair ties. This brings me to my next point. One of my closest friends from university, Helena, has just started her own brand called Silk and Waves, and she was kind enough to send me a few of her 100% mulberry silk scrunchies. And if you know me, you know that I love a slicked back bun. I am wearing one right now. So I love that they are made from silk because you can really tell the difference from these like satin feel scrunchies that you can get from fast fashion brands. And as a person who loves a bun, it really does hold my hair in place all day. So Silk and Waves also offer hair wraps, which protect your hair at night, preventing split ends and reducing friction. I will link the Silk and Waves website down below, and I think that you should definitely give them a visit. So I wanted to give Helena and Silk and Waves a bit of a shout out because of course she's my close friend and I want to support her in anything she does, but I also want to support small and independent brands whenever I can. Brands which focus on producing items of high quality and in smaller quantities. So that is much more of a sustainable way to shop because you know that each piece is made with love and in fair conditions, and this also reduces waste. So shop locally and from small and independent brands whenever you can, and that is something that I am trying to incorporate into my shopping habit as well. My last thing that I am doing, quite obvious here on my channel, I focus on using and styling what I have. So this has made me become so much more creative with my clothes. Now I actually find it more enjoyable to try and find new combinations from my own closet rather than going out and buying a completely new outfit. I also love outfit repeating, so as much fun as it is to try and find new combinations, that also requires a lot of time and energy. So to be honest, you can't always feel inspired or in the mood to try new styles. So instead of trying to reinvent the wheel every single time I get dressed, I simply copy and paste from what I've already worn, and if I want to mix it up a little bit, I use accessories, jewelry, shoes, bags, etc. to mix it up. So that is it for today's video. I hope that you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comment section down below if you have any other advice on how to become a more conscious consumer. As always, if you did enjoy this video, please feel free to share it with a friend, give it a like, and subscribe to my channel. I wish you the best week ahead, and I will see you again next Sunday. Bye!